Soul J, what up? I got you in here. Soul J, how's the audio? You got audio coming from my end? Sounds good. All right. How's the video? We getting some HD streaming? All right, we got two. I don't know. Something was going on in the first setup. I couldn't get the stream going. I had to end it. I did see your comment in the live chat, Soul J, but I don't know. Wasn't working. Sound is good. Video is good. Hopefully we're getting HD. You can be excited again. We got 5 people in so far. All right, let's get this thing popping here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up the dialogue box, the live chat box, so I can get to all of the comments, all the questions. Let's see what we have. All right, what do we got for time? 2:01. Let's wait for some people to pile in. Notifications should be sent out to all. Got a lot to talk about in today's live stream. Quite a bit going on with the channel, quite a bit going on with the carriers. Huge smartphone news. There's a lot. There's a lot to cover today. We've got a couple hours to do it. Soul J, do we have background noise coming in? I do have a fan on. What do you got? Can we hear the fan? Brian, what up, my friend? Good to have you in the chat. Anybody that's in the chat right now, can you guys hear the fan that is running to my right? If you hear that fan, let me know. I want to turn it off. Or if it's just a subtle hum, then we'll let it go. No background noise? All right. Yeah, maybe I'll go ahead and turn it off. All right, we're all set. I think we're all set to start. All right, let's take inventory. We have Soul J in the house. We have Brian in the house. Who else is in here? I see 4. Who else is up in here? I don't really need a fan, man. I'm too cool for that anyway. I got my cold drink. I'm all set. See, we got 4 people. All right, so I think we should just go ahead and kick this thing off. Let's get things started. Landon, good to see you. Glad you're here, buddy. Yeah, let's get the people to pile up here. All right, so today's date, we have August 3rd, 2018. Thank you all for joining, and I guess for anybody that might be rewatching this live stream later, thanks for tuning in. So what do we have? What is this, like our 6th live stream here on Sneed Mobile Tech? So these things are starting to pile up, man. I think my first one was like the second to last week of July, or the last week of July. Or no, it was the first week of July. Yeah. So we're about 5 or 6 of these in. All right, let's see what we have going on from this week. This week on the YouTube side, we covered topics such as T-Mobile. We had their big deal with Nokia. That was a 5G hardware deal. We had the establishing of their 5G connection and testing That was a success for them, so they're moving along quite nicely with their 5G. We had a huge quarter from T-Mobile. They had a ginormous growth. We'll talk numbers in a second, but it was huge. I'm hearing some people are saying that this was T-Mobile's best quarter ever, and others saying it's the second best ever. I say either way, whatever. That's a huge monster quarter for them. They definitely kind of came up big, and we did a national coverage video talking about Band 71, Band 66 deployments, compatible phones with those bands for T-Mobile. So a lot going on with T-Mobile. We also did a Sprint Quarter 1 earnings report video. I think that came like a day or two before the T-Mobile news. So huge network gains, huge network improvements for Sprint. We did see some poor revenue numbers and limited postpaid growth. So some mixed bags for Sprint there. And then on the Patreon side, we had the 5G divide video where it covered topics as it pertains to LTE in rural America compared to urban US, internationally with China and Europe. And then there was a video on 5G smartphones from the hardware side of 5G. So, you know, what the phones are going to be designed like, as well as battery sizes, heat issues. So for those of you on the Patreon side, all these are fair game. So anything from this week's video on the YouTube side or the Patreon side. And then, of course, for those of you paying attention, the channel did hit 1,000 subscribers. So I've got a special thanks to all of you. I think I'm going to actually do a formal video for that. But we'll talk a little bit about that later here in the live chat. But as you guys are piling in and you're tuning into the live stream, go ahead and say hello and just let the conversation start. You guys can chime in with any questions or comments from the material for this week or any kind of ask me anything type stuff. All right, let's see here. First thing we got here coming from Brian. Have you heard of AirGig? New device that AT&T is doing some trials on. I actually have. The AirGig, I think it was announced either late last year or early this year. This is supposed to be some kind of, I don't know, was it supposed to be a hotspot, I think? I'm not really sure. Anyways, when they first announced it, there wasn't really much info on it, and it just kind of just made a couple headlines. But yeah, I have heard of it. Has anybody been getting their hands on these devices yet for trial, or is this being tested in private by AT&T? Jamal, good to have you. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome, my friend. Landon, thank you so much. I appreciate the congrats. Yeah, hit 1,000 subs, man. It was like, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but I mean, I remember it was like at 998. I actually felt like I was at 980 to 995 for like, it felt like forever, but it was probably actually only a couple of days. But yeah, hit the big 1K mark, and now I'm getting prepared to be reviewed for monetization, which I'm excited for. That was one of my goals, was to hit the point where I would be monetized and get reviewed for AdSense. And yeah, so one of my goals has been met, hit 1,000 subscribers, and actually 2 goals because I wanted to get monetized also. Ooh, 5G in rural areas. Okay, so I do remember this now. Yeah, so I believe this is supposed to be some type of a fixed wireless type situation. But I don't know if it was originally some type of technology that they were adopting from a regional carrier. I vaguely remember it wasn't a brand new technology. Yeah. They're going to be putting on utility poles. Yeah, that's good. They're going to be like 5G small cells. I wonder what type of speeds and capacity they'll provide. I mean, you got to keep in mind, like with 5G spectrum, it's not the type of spectrum that does well in expansive coverage. You got to be pretty close for these things. So I'm guessing they're going to have to be strategically positioned near homes. And that makes sense. If you got power lines, then you're going to have homes there. So yeah, that should be good. Oh, internally tested. Okay, I figured. If it's being internally tested, then it's probably not even close to deployment. Give it another year, I expect to probably see it, maybe 2020. And you got to keep in mind, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, it doesn't matter, Sprint, they're not worried too much about rural coverage right now as it pertains to 5G. They're worried about the select 5, 10, 20, 30 markets that they want to get it to in 2018. I'll tell you what would be interesting to see though, Brian. I would like to see similar technology being deployed anywhere. It doesn't have to just be it doesn't have to be rural application. We could see those anywhere. We could see those in heavy duty buildings where there's lack of coverage. We could see them outside, inside of stadiums. You know, it doesn't have to be rural. It sounds like it's just basically some form of a small cell deployment. Oh, I read about that, Brian. So, Charter is getting booted out of New York. I think it's fantastic. Well, okay, so I'm sure there are a lot of people that count on Charter for their provisions for their, home internet and TV. But the reason they're getting booted out of New York is because they've been so bad to customers, whether it's performance oriented, like network wise, or just, customer care. They've been really bad. And I think the simple fact that New York was willing to boot them out says a lot about what the people are saying about the company. And they're probably putting in a lot of complaints to the state, and they're probably putting a lot of complaints to the Better Business Bureau, which is good. I want to see ISPs, held to the fire a little bit more. They just, what they remind me of? ISPs remind me of college football colleges. Like they feel like they're gods or something, and they can't be touched, and there's no competition to them. They just seem like they're just they could do no wrong. So I'm glad to see it. I'm kind of happy. Now, trust me, Charter's gonna fight it. They're not just gonna take this laying down. That's a huge market. I mean, what's a bigger market than New York? So they're gonna be definitely appealing that. There will be a legislation to that. I'm sure it's going to be dragged on for quite a bit. I expect a resolution eventually, but I think Charter's going to have to make some concessions, and they're going to have to put together a plan that's going to improve their service in the area. So whether it's the TV, whether it's the speeds of their internet, or cost, what they're charging, there's going to be some changes if they're going to continue to run business there. Man, I was reading about that actually, and it caught my attention. I haven't heard or seen anything like that in a long time. Soul J, I do not have a text Snapchat. I don't do Snapchat. If I did Snapchat, my data usage would go up like crazy. So I don't have Snapchat, but my wife does. And on our Verizon account, I could see like the breakdown of all 7 of the lines on my account. And she is, I think, maybe her and then maybe one more line has Snapchat, and both of them use the most data. It's very typical for my wife to use 30 to 40 gigs of data a month. I've seen it even upwards of 50, 55 gigs. So, not that I really care because we're all limited, but, I don't know. Snapchat, I don't want to become one of the data monsters. Plus, I don't know. I mean, I've got YouTube that I'm dumping all my attention into. I've got the Patreon thing now. I don't know how much I would be paying attention to what's going on in Snapchat. I had a Twitter back like 2010, 2011, and I kind of walked away from that. Just didn't like it, and I don't know. I was using it more for like fantasy football updates, like for injuries and the injury report, like who's in, who's out, like around like 12:55 when they finally released the first injury reports. So that's all I was using it for. And once I figured I could just find blog posts doing that, I didn't have to pay attention for that. Oh, okay, Soul J. So you're a truck driver, so you're traveling, I'm assuming nationally or at least like state to state. I would imagine that you would use tons of data. All right, somebody just entered. We have Christian. Good to have you, my friend. Welcome to the live stream. Appreciate you stopping by. So yeah, Soldier, you probably use tons of data. I mean, you've got what? Your music, you've got your GPS, you've got your Snapchat, your social media. Yeah, you're probably using tons of it. You probably charge your phone a lot. You know what, Brian? I just got to the JD Power report. I didn't even open it, so I downloaded it and then I saw it on an article. So I haven't even assessed it. I'm gonna take a look at it, but based on revenue from the quarter and based on performances from speed testing and stuff like that, I would imagine that they probably had the best results for the quarter. So I'll definitely check that out. Thank you for letting me know about that. So T-Mobile coming in first. Verizon and AT are both tied in the middle. Yeah, you know, when it comes to Verizon and customer care, it's a mixed bag. Some people think Verizon is like the most evil, and some people say that they're satisfied. I think it's what your expectations are that set that precedent. And with AT&T, again, like a mixed bag. I think AT&T and T and Verizon are most similar when it comes to customer care. Some people really, really like it and they're satisfied, and others just don't. And I think Sprint's customer service, I've heard a lot of negative things about their customer service. I don't know if it's the lack of attention they give or if it's actually their inability to satisfy their customers. I don't know, but I've heard a lot of bad. Uh, all right, so Landon's giving us an update here. The Puerto Rico perspective. All right, so Claro is their cable company. It's the cheapest one and the biggest reach in Liberty that doesn't have a lot of coverage, but their home internet is fast. Okay, so now are those two companies available countrywide, or are they kind of regional and they're separate from each other? All right, Soul J. So you're in Texas. I'm guessing you're transporting oil. I don't know if it's pre or post refinement. So Cricket's pretty good out there. Okay, well, I hear AT&T is pretty good for Texas. So the fact that you have Cricket, their MVNO, it makes a lot of sense. You probably save a lot of money going with Cricket. The only thing I know about Cricket is there are quite a bit for restrictions when it comes to speed, and I think resolution on video streaming also. So. But yeah, if you can get by with 480p resolution, I think is their best. And if you can get by with 8 megabits per second, which actually 8 megabits per second can do pretty much everything you need it to. And yeah, the benefit's definitely the price. I think getting AT&T service with Cricket pricing, it's a really nice combo. Oh, that sucks, Landon. So, two providers for the entire country, but you do have at least two choices. Man, I'd like to see that change in Puerto Rico. I'd like to see that, you know, a couple companies join in on that. And if they're willing to compete and put those resources in and build that infrastructure, I mean, there's money to be made. People need connectivity. Yeah, oil's big time. I mean, what's the biggest money maker in Texas? I'd say probably oil and beef. You got a lot of cows. There's a lot of cattle grazing. Soul J, don't tell me you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. I'm not into that. Nah. Better tell me you're like a Texans fan or something like that. All right, so for those of you just popping in, make sure you say hello, uh, offer us a formal greeting, and then, yeah, chime in with any questions or comments, topics from the videos for the week, anything from the YouTube side, anything from the Patreon side, any topics up and coming. We've already brought up JD Power and Associate Surveys. We've talked about cable providers, so we've already kind of been around already. All right, so Brian chimes in. I feel with the recent changes the FCC made with small cells, we will see a lot more of them pop up soon. So I was just about to open up an article on Fierce Wireless about small cell deployment and the FCC. So they're changing the legislation on the infrastructure that small cells can be attached to. So I'm assuming they're loosening up the restrictions. They're going to allow, you know, companies to slap on small cells to all types of utility poles and any type of anchoring point. The only concern here is city wise, there may be certain cities that don't necessarily want this. So this obviously could lead to some disagreement between city representation and people and residents and people that work in communities and people that own businesses and communities, and we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check out that article and see what it's really about. Um, and of course, the FCC, that's a federal commission, so you know cities and states want their rights and they want to be able to control their situation. So we'll just have to see. Oh no, Soul J's a Cowboys fan. Oh God, they should have a better year though. They should bounce back. Zeke is going to be awesome. Dak's got to move forward. He's got to play better. Defensively, I don't know where they stand. I know the offensive line is their strong point. We'll have to see how the Cowboys, but I think they'll have a better year than last year. Last year was really bad. 19 an hour for no experience in trucking. Um, that's really good. Oh, and keep in mind, the last I checked, Texas as a state doesn't have a state income tax. So, slam dunk. Puerto Rico, fastest internet speeds in Latin America. I'm not surprised. Interesting, definitely, but I'm not surprised. I feel like it's probably one of the more developed countries in Latin America. Well, I'm sure there's more isolated parts, but there are a couple of big cities in Puerto Rico that are probably suited well with infrastructure and fiber and cables and that stuff. So I'm not surprised, but yeah, it's good to see. I don't know who else would I expect to be first in Latin America. I'm not really sure I could think of anybody else. It's also closest in proximity to America, so United States. You know what, Brian? I don't know if I want a micro cell in my home or apartment uh, as it relates to indoor. Uh, I wouldn't mind having it like 500 feet away, but I definitely don't want it like so close to the point where we're having a situation like we see with firefighters. Because I was reading this article about firefighters and their exposure to you know different frequencies of waves and how they're finding potential links to cancer radiation and causing cancer. I don't know. I believe there is some form of a linkage there, but how much we expose our bodies to could definitely reap its consequences later in our lives. We just I did a video on Patreon actually called "Are We 5G Guinea Pigs?" and it kind of addresses that issue. It's an interesting topic, and I encourage all of you out there to check it out. It's really interesting. The amount of research is, I'd say, limited to moderate at best, and then the conclusion that we draw from it is actually inconclusive. We don't really have solid data to point to and say for sure where we should stand on it. So it's definitely a good read. It's good research, and it's an interesting topic that I encourage a lot of you to check out. One of the issues with cell coverage in homes, and some of the things that people have seen, like take T-Mobile for example, unless you have Band 71 support, T-Mobile indoors is very poor. So a lot of people rely on Wi-Fi calling for that. And the issue there is, even when you leave the building, as you're transitioning from Wi-Fi to LTE, you can drop calls. So it's really, really annoying. Now, if you're on LTE, right, when you walk out and it switches from Wi-Fi and you're just watching a video, you might get a temporary buffer or it might not skip at all. But a call dropping could be horrible. It could be an international call. It could be a call, that you've been on a conference call at work. It's kind of like a gift and a curse. The handoff from Wi-Fi calling to LTE is just not good. I'm hoping that over the course of the next year or two, that gets perfected. Um, that the handoff is a little bit more seamless and the transition is smooth. So people stop dropping calls when they leave their house from Wi-Fi to LTE. I see it more of an issue with T-Mobile recently. I don't know if it's as much of an issue with AT&T or Verizon, and Sprint hasn't really committed to voice over LTE completely yet. We haven't seen it everywhere. I hear a lot of markets have it now, but it's just, I don't think it's national at this point. But I might have something on that this week actually. Uh, some people that are seeing voice over LTE with Sprint, and then some people are reporting some added carrier aggregation with Sprint. So, and that's good to see. Sprint's adding a lot of capacity by adding their, I think they're adding a third carrier, so 3 carrier aggregation, and they also are getting carrier aggregation on their upload speeds, are showing it. So we'll take a look at that this week in a future video. Yeah, Brian, it's kind of annoying. I used to use Wi-Fi calling, uh, but what I noticed is, like, say for example, you're connected to a 5G, a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi connection, and then you start to walk away, and the signal starts to drop. So like you'll start off like closer to the router or the access point, you'll have like full signal, and you walk towards your door, and it drops to like 3, and it drops to 1. By the time you're out of your apartment or your home, you're barely hanging on to a signal, and then as soon as you go 10 feet into the parking lot or the driveway, you disconnect, and if you're on a call, it's over. All right, so Christian's getting a nice strong signal in Lubbock with T-Mobile. All right, so Christian, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the scenario, but band 71 and band 66, and in your case, I think it's more band 71. Do you have a band 71 compatible phone, and do you have band 71 in that area? Now, some people don't even know if they have band 71 in their area. I recommend, if you have T-Mobile, to check the website to see if your market supports it. And if you have poor coverage and you're using an older smartphone, uh, I guess I would encourage you to get a newer one that is band 71 compatible, and it could solve a lot of your issues. Not as far as you know. Well, good. Hopefully, there's good tower support there. Um, I know T-Mobile's been doing their best to fill up their coverage gaps, and then in certain cities they're trying to provide added capacity to keep speeds fast. Because I know that there was at least 5 or 6 subscribers, from the comments in my videos that tell me T-Mobile used to be really fast in my city, and now it's really slow. That's network growth, and not only network growth, like say they're adding subscribers to the area. People's habits are starting to change. People are using more and more data than ever. Man, it used to be like people would use 3 to 5 gigs, and that was considered high usage. Now, with all the streaming services, whether it's music or video, Snapchat, you've got all these apps that use video, and DirecTV Now and Sling and all these apps. They're taxing networks more and more than ever, and the networks have to stay strong. So, adding the capacity is going to be really important for carriers. 5G actually will address some of those issues, but still, there's 4G LTE coverage issues there that need to be attended to. You know what, Landon? That's 100% true. I also want to let you all know. So, like, if you guys don't know, I'm a biology teacher by trade. I have taken intro biology courses in college and my undergrad. I took things from like evolution and population biology, cell biology, biochemistry. I've took an immunology course. I took an endocrinology course. Even I've taken master's level coursework in genetics. So let me just say this about frequencies and exposure to radiation to the human body. every band of frequency takes a different toll on the body. Some bands can penetrate skin and get into organs, which is probably the most devastating of them because obviously organs are very, very sensitive. Skin, on the other hand, is more durable, it's more resilient. So maybe, moderate to mild exposure to radiation to the skin is not a big deal. But in the long term, it could be, of course. And everybody's response to certain exposures of things, whether it's ultralight radiation from the sun or if it's frequency waves from, cell towers, it differs from person to person. And how somebody uses their phone is different, like how close it is to their head, or if they use it mostly on speaker, or if they're using wired headphones. All of that matters. Some people carry their phone in their back pockets, some people put it on a desk. All of those things change how much exposure your body receives from radiation. So it's complicated and it's like dynamic, and it's really hard to pinpoint exactly how detrimental it is to our health and how it can, but we do know how it can potentially affect us just based on the principles of the exposure. So yeah, it's it is a can of worms. It's a huge topic. Yeah, Brian. You know, so with capacity help, obviously the first cities like Chicago, New York. New York City is constantly receiving antenna upgrades. New York City is constantly getting modifications to macro sites. They're the type of cities that receive small cells, for capacity support. I know Chicago's received a lot of upgrades for T-Mobile. I mean, it makes sense. They've got millions and millions of people. What's New York's population right now? Isn't it like 16, 17, 18 million? Chicago's got like 7 million people. Uh, LA has at least 7 or 8 million people, right? I mean, it's been forever since I looked at populations, but when you have that many people and pretty much everybody owns a smartphone, connectivity is going to be very taxing on a network. So everybody using all their video apps, everybody using their GPS, everybody connecting to the network, all of it's running through LTE pretty much now. So yeah, capacity is definitely going to be a high point for, I think, carriers to make sure that they're spending important money on upgrading their network. They constantly have to upgrade. They constantly have to support the network, whether it's adding small cells or it's rearranging antennas or adding antennas, or even sometimes they have to actually move antennas and point them in a different direction where there's been development and industrialization or manufacturing facilities have opened. Stuff like that actually matters. So they have to address the needs at that point in time. Yeah, New York City's huge. That's not only does New York City have high population, but also it's a big footprint too. Um, New York City is huge. 5 boroughs. All right, so we got 11 people in the live chat. Looking good. Got 3 thumbs up. We are 34 minutes into the live stream. We're just getting cooking here. I'll be with you guys till about 3:40, 3:45. And depending how things are going, maybe I'll hang on for another 10 or 15 minutes. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. Peter, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Glad you could make it. Thanks for stopping by. The live stream has been pretty live. We've been talking pretty much all over the place. We briefly talked about the Dallas Cowboys. We talked about oil fields. We we talked about a little bit about Sprint. We definitely talked about T-Mobile. We talked about capacity, coverage. So from like the carrier side, we did talk a little bit about cable and Charter, how they got booted out of New York. We talked a little bit about market size. Small cells, micro cells, stuff like that. So we've been all over the place. You know what I'd love to see, Brian? I would love to see like a huge connected Wi-Fi system for usage on like subways and trains in New York City. I think that would be awesome. I don't know how you go about doing that. That needs a huge investment from the carriers. But if all the carriers provided it, the infrastructure, support in the subway systems would be much better. I've heard that's an issue. It's been a while since I've been in New York, and when I was in Chicago, using the train systems, the subways, I don't remember any type of Wi-Fi. I was there a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago. Pete's gonna make sure he tunes back in for that Cowboys oil field talk. Yeah, we were just talking about occupation. So I made the joke that there's like two industries that are big in Texas, and it was the oil industry and then cattle raising, I guess. I may be off, but so I live in Ohio, and I live, in a suburb of Cleveland. Cleveland's, it's a service town. It's a town that has a little bit of manufacturing left over. It's kind of residual. It's definitely become more of a profession, more formal profession city. Uh, you know, banking and Quicken Loans and accounting firms and lawyers. Legal representation. It's changed over the last couple decades. Uh, and a lot of people think Ohio is just cornfields. A lot of Ohio is cornfields, but not in Cuyahoga County where Cleveland is and stuff like that. As soon as you get out of the county, it does get very country. And really, you've got Cincinnati, a little bit of Dayton, you have Columbus, and you have Cleveland, and a little bit of Toledo. But outside of that, even Youngstown, it's pretty much all rural in Ohio. Yeah, make sure you guys listen to Soul J out there. Come on, man, get the thumbs up going. Get those numbers up. Landon says, I think if New York City doesn't get the necessary upgrades it needs, people could even experience dropped calls. There are moments actually in New York where people do drop calls and can't get connected to LTE because certain towers will experience such an overload from some kind of an event. It could be like a Yankees game. It's so think about New York City and how everything's kind of stacked on top of each other. You've got buildings that have tons and tons of people in them, and you're going to need small cells near there. You're going to need macro sites near there. There are thousands of people connected to any given cell, right? And densification is going to be really important in that case. So yeah, they have to invest in that at all times. And sometimes they know that even as they invest more and more, it's still not enough, that they anticipate more and more investment soon in the future. So Pete, why do you think people know the name Cleveland? What do people think of when they think of the town? You can't say LeBron anymore. LeBron's gone. And anyways, LeBron's not even from Cleveland. He's from Akron. So. Arcelia, welcome. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see here. Catching up in the chat. All right, Pete. So the big announcement for the next Uncarrier move is August 15th. So the Layer 3 TV deal, I think it dates back to an announcement in November or December of 2017. We haven't really heard much about it since. In January, it popped up again only because the deal became official. I think it was like January 17th or something like that. So once the deal became official, people then could start to speculate, what exactly is T-Mobile going to do with this Layer 3 TV deal? And I think we have a good feel of what they're going to do. We have some ideas, but we just don't know in what sequence they're going to do it in. So I personally think, like you were saying, it's going to be a Layer 3 TV deal that is going to somehow implicate T-Mobile customers. I don't know how fast it's going to be ready for them, but they're just going to announce it. I don't know if it's going to be ready just yet. It could be. Maybe T-Mobile has decided that they want to start working a little bit more quietly than to just kind of keep announcing stuff and then, there's no buzz generated when it actually does happen. That's kind of what Verizon does. So maybe they've been working behind the scenes very diligently and now it's ready. I'd love to see that. I think it's a huge market tool for them. Remember, in the next couple of years, T-Mobile's going to have, a pretty big investment into 5G, that should be really easy for the TV streaming side to handle, especially for people that are going to be living in 5G markets. So, and it's we're talking fixed 5G, so it's not necessarily the mobile side, but all of it I think is tied in somehow. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be layer 3 TV oriented. Let's see. Everybody got audio? Drew Carey show. Yeah, he's a Cleveland guy. I remember. I don't know if he still owns the home, but it's not too far from where I grew up. He's got a huge, massive home in Westlake. It was November. Thanks for the update, Pete. November. I thought it was like December or something. All right, we got somebody new in the house. We got Berkey. What up? Thank you for stopping by. Glad you're a part of the live chat here. Yeah, so Pete, the big thing about layer 3 TV is what layer 3 TV specializes in is compressing video to the point where it takes up or uses much less bandwidth than say like a standard YouTube video. So like to give you guys like an analogy, a 720p YouTube video and a 480p or I should say like a 1080p TV stream from layer 3 TV may take the same bandwidth as like a 720p YouTube video. It's like I hear it's that big of a difference. Like I don't know if it's in their bitrate technology, how they compress it, and they you know, it's just it's huge because what that's going to do is if you utilize less bandwidth and you allocate more resources for other users, it provides the network with a little bit more flexibility, more and more people on towers without getting slowed down and deprioritized. From what I understand, not many people often get deprioritized by T-Mobile, but when they do, it's really, really bad. So this should be a non-issue with the layer 3 TV capabilities. So I think that's huge. I think it's going to allow T-Mobile to basically give away the layer 3 TV to a lot of different users. I don't know how they're going to do it, if they're going to do it for family accounts or if they're going to do it for, you know, some type of a limited time offer, but I do think that it's going to be a big deal, and it sounds very uncarrierish to me. Well, Peter, it's good that you have layer 3 TV available. From what I understand, it's small time. Like they have 5,000 paid subscribers. Like 5,000, that's nothing. And they're probably only in a handful of markets if they're only serving that many people. Arcelia asked a good question. She said, what do you think is going to happen to Netflix and T-Mobile and the layer 3 TV? So when T-Mobile got the deal with Netflix, Netflix is kind of its own platform. Like people know the name Netflix. It's like it's synonymous with TV streaming. You think Netflix before you think Hulu. You think Netflix before you think Sling. You think Netflix before you know, think of DirecTV Now. It's like number one. They've been doing it the longest and they have the most prominent name. I still think they're going to be including this, at least in the near future. I mean, how much... Do you know how much promotion is going to be needed for layer 3 TV through T-Mobile? They're going to have to blast this and advertise this for several years before it really makes a huge dent in TV streaming services nationwide. So I don't think Netflix is going anywhere. I think T-Mobile is going to continue to provide that. And especially because T-Mobile is known to grandfather a lot of stuff to their older legacy plans. So I don't think Netflix is going anywhere as it pertains to T-Mobile. Yeah, I think there's going to be perfectly fine integration between the two companies and T-Mobile. I don't think anything's going to change with Netflix. I don't think anything's going to change. Like Layer 3 TV at this point, they were purchased for their technology. They were not purchased for their subscribers. They were not purchased for their market control or ownership of how much in the market they serve. They were, yeah, it's like 5 markets. They were purchased for the technology. They were purchased strictly to reduce bandwidth usage as T-Mobile is going to be streaming TV services over their network. That's what it's about. So $325 million, that was the acquisition of Layer 3 TV. That's not a lot of money to carriers. 325 million, nothing. Two drops in a bucket. All right, so yeah, we've covered some Layer 3 TV stuff. We talked some network stuff earlier. Man, T-Mobile's hot right now. Sprint's kind of hot right now. AT&T had a really poor quarter. Man, really, really bad. I saw that coming, though. I knew it was going to be a down quarter for AT&T. They just, for how big AT&T is, like, you expect certain quarters to be kind of crappy. But, like, they just, wow, what a horrible quarter they had. Christian says, do you see them implementing some Layer 3 deal where they try to get folks to get rid of their home internet and cable? I think that's the idea. I think the Uncarrier announcement is going to be kind of the tip to the iceberg. I think in the grand scheme, big picture, I think T-Mobile wants to be a more inclusive provider. I think they want to provide the wireless. I think they want to provide some TV. And I think, you know, and this will be within the next year or two, we'll know more, the fixed 5G. I think they're going to be big players in that. They just know that they don't want to do the media thing on their own. They know they need Layer 3 TV. They probably need some partnerships. They kind of have one with Netflix. T-Mobile will never get to the point where they're running studios or anything like that. But clearly you could see that T-Mobile is thinking bigger. And now with the acquisition and the merger of Sprint, you can kind of see their vision is coming into play. I never would have thought 5 years ago I'd see T-Mobile making this noise. 5 years ago, it was AT&T and Verizon only. Sprint was already falling off. T-Mobile is small time. It's such a different climate now in the wireless space. It's so different, and I think we owe it all to T-Mobile to playing this disruptor role. It's huge. All right, so let's take care of some housekeeping here. So we've got some big channel news, and now that I've got about 15 people here in the live chat. So Steve Mobile Tech has officially hit 1,000 subscribers. So I want to thank you all very much. This is kind of like a formal thank you to you all. I did write down a couple things because I didn't want to forget anything. So some of the things I wanted to say, I wanted to thank all of my 1,000 subscribers, which I think it's currently at like 1,003 or 1,004. So I want to thank you all, of course. I want to thank my old subscribers that have been here since day one, those that started with me from the very beginning. So I want to thank you guys for riding with me all this way. I want to thank all of the new subscribers, those that have joined this year and those that have joined, you know, in the last few days. You know, I'm thanking all of my subscribers. I want to thank all of my viewers, even if you aren't subscribed. Just watching and providing viewership is really important to the channel, so I want to thank you. I want to thank all of the commenters on all of my videos, those that are willing to put in their opinions and, you know, even update us, you know, even me as a creator. There's times where I miss certain parts of the research and I'm misinformed. You know, I love the comment section. It's how I interact with you guys. It's the best part of the channel. I also want to thank haters, because without haters, it doesn't drive you to do better. I want to thank all of those that love me, all those that like me. I want to say thank you to all the people that have shared a video or many videos for me. I want to thank all that have contributed to any chats on the live stream. I want to thank anybody who's ever hated a video and gave me a thumbs down, because that shows me that you're engaged, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So whether you hated or you liked the video, thank you for that. I want to thank all the live stream watchers, you guys here in the live chat. Thank you. I want to thank all the people that view my podcasts. Watch them from start to finish or watch it for 2 minutes. I don't really care. Thank you for that. I want to thank all my patrons. I want to thank Breon, Brian, David, Jamal, Mark, Peter. Thank you guys so much for your pledges, and thank you for being patrons there. It's been an awesome ride. I finally hit 1,000 subscribers. That was one of my goals early on when I first started making videos. The goal was to hit 1,000. The goal was to become monetized. I now am up for monetization review, so I've hit those two goals. My mission here on the channel is I'm just out here trying to provide an educated and cohesive research-based opinion. I want people to, who are tech enthusiasts and network enthusiasts, to be as up on the happenings as possible. So that's been my mission, is to just get information out to people in my way. So that's kind of what I've been doing. And my initial goal was to get 1,000 subs. I think my next goal is to get 2,000 subs. So we'll see, when it happens. I don't know when it's going to happen, but for a year or two, I think I've been making videos for about a year and a half, so I got to 1,000. Why don't we go ahead and set the next benchmark? Let's shoot for 2,000 subscribers by 2020. So a year and a half from now, we'll see if I'm at 2K. So that'll be my next goal. But again, like I said, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much for all of your support, all the sharing of videos, all the watching of videos, everybody who's on Patreon, everybody who's on YouTube. Thanks again for everything. It's been a great ride, and I'm looking forward to even better times in the future. So there, we got all the mushy stuff out of the way. Let's get back to the live stream. All right, let me catch up here. Catch up in the live chat. All right. Peter, thank you for the congrats. Appreciate it. Thank you, DGAF. Much appreciated. Berkey, thank you so much. Dark Vader, thank you. I try to put out as much quality content as possible. I try to make it thorough. I try to make it complete. I try to make it very research-based, and I try to provide an educated, opinion, and I try to put my ideas out there, and hopefully, other people like it as well. Berkey says, we the best. Yes, you are. Arcelia asked, do you think home internet service for home, T-Mobile serving as a home internet provider, I'm guessing? Through fixed 5G, they could be. They could be. It might be market-based from here to here. Probably not like on a national scale, but I could see them doing something like that. And thank you again, Arcelia. Thank you so much. You know what, DGAF? I think the layer 3 TV thing is, so the announcement is coming here in just, what is it, about a week and a half away? We'll know more then, obviously, but I think they're going to kind of limp in. I think they're going to offer an app to stream the TV. I think it's going to kind of start small, and then I think it's going to become more of a situation where they'll start deploying hardware for it, like set-top boxes that will do like on-site storage and recording. So they'll be like more of like a traditional service provider for TV and stuff like that. So we'll have to see. I mean, a lot can change in 6 months. We'll see what happens by the end of the year. You know what, Pete? I try to do my best with that. I think on YouTube, it's a great platform for people to voice their opinions. But I feel like sometimes some opinions end up being a little bit misguided. Like somebody was asking me the other day, they asked in one of the comments, they asked me who my service provider was. So I have two SIM cards. I have an AT&T SIM and I have a Verizon SIM. Now I have chosen those two providers strictly based on performance in a city where I live. So they have the best service. I've tried the others, but that's who I'm using. So I don't say to people, well, Verizon's better because I use them. It has nothing to do with that. I give anecdotal, empirical evidence of, the proof that something is the way it is. I'm a science teacher. I teach the scientific process. I teach the investigative process. I teach skepticism. I teach curiosity. It's something that's embedded in my mentality. So I think it's the best way for me to approach, how I report and research things and present it in my opinions. So I think a lot of people with their opinions, they don't realize that there are other angles and other perspectives to take when you're curious about things and you analyze and provide your opinions. So I think as I'm kind of like a media member at this point, right? Like YouTubers and creators, we kind of are members of the media. We have to do that responsibly because you're kind of like a journalist, sort of, right? And what you say is recorded and people watch it forever, and it should be factually based. So that's what I try to do. You know what, Pete? When it comes to bashing, I mean, what is there to gain from bashing? I mean, you call it like it is. You try to find your truth in it, and you state the facts. It's not really about bashing. There are times where, I want to say something really bad about Verizon because business practices are shady. I'll say it. Or if AT&T is raising administration fees, I'll say it. I will bash that because I advocate for the consumer. I think as long as people understand that I advocate for them, I advocate for the consumer because I am one, then they realize that my best interest on my channel is solely based on consumers. I don't care about the carriers. They're rich. They have billions and billions of revenue. Who am I compared to them, right? So I just try to call it like it is and take the consumer side of it. I'm a consumer advocate is really what I am. All right, Arcelia is asking about the AT&T and Time Warner merger. Uh, so in terms of the merger as it pertains to how successful it's going to be, I think it's probably going to go through. Last week, I think I don't know if it was the podcast or the live stream. Somebody asked me for a percentage of how likely I thought the Sprint T-Mobile merger was going to happen, and I put it at like 90 to 95%. I would say that the AT&T acquisition of Time Warner, I'd say that's probably around 80% probably going to happen. It is merger season. It is acquisition season. And, you think about like today's FCC and today's DOJ and, Senate and Congress the way it is right now under the Trump administration, they're very corporation friendly. Now, under the Obama administration, they turned down all mergers. They turned down the AT&T T-Mobile merger. They turned down the first Sprint and T-Mobile merger. They were like, heck no, we're not going to be decreasing competition. End of story. And there was like, boom, it was like shot down immediately. These have been proposed and accepted, and they're going through the regulatory paces with pretty much ease. And they're not having to concede anything. They're going to happen. And like Sprint's not having to give up anything. T-Mobile's not having to give up anything in their merger. And as of right now, AT&T's approval of the Time Warner acquisition, it seems like it's going to happen with no concessions. So I'm actually pretty frustrated. I don't think this is the way that we need to go. I am frustrated with how easy it is for acquisitions to happen. It's like the big just get bigger because they're eating smaller and mid-sized businesses. And of course, those smaller mid-sized businesses are turning a profit, but at the expense of the consumer's flexibilities, like what our choices are. So it could potentially raise our costs and what we spend and put us into corners where we have no options and competitiveness within the market. So long story short, it's probably going to go through under this administration. Yeah, it's bad for the consumers, especially on the TV side. AT&T was already a powerful player in TV. This just makes them that much bigger. Now they're controlling CNN. They already control HBO. They have, like Turner Sports. They've got all of that. So yeah, they could corner the market and just more and more power with a small number of providers. It's frustrating. No, Brian, the merger's not going to be overturned. It's not happening. I don't care what happens with the whole Huawei situation with SoftBank. I don't care what happens with any China relationship allegations. It's not going to. I mean, after watching some of the congressional meetings with the subcommittees and stuff, that merger, it's going to happen. It's like a sure thing. Pete, I was saying the same thing. The first time I heard about the deal between AT&T and Time Warner, I'm like, okay, so if this is going to happen, there are going to be so many concessions AT&T is going to have to give up in order to make this happen. They're probably going to have to lose 20 to 30% of the assets from Time Warner. They have lost nothing. They are conceding zero. And Sprint and T-Mobile, they are conceding zero. Everything that Sprint has in terms of assets is going to be usable and transferable to T-Mobile. There are no concessions anywhere. It's almost like we stamp this, go ahead, run with it. And you don't have to give up anything. I'm completely shocked. All the acquisitions, all the mergers are just happening like scot-free. So I don't know. It's annoying. I feel like that definitely, like if you're gonna allow mergers to happen, you could come to a middle ground and say, well, you got to give this up, or you got to give that up. We'll let this happen, but you got to let this go. That makes more sense from a business side, for a competition side. But they're just letting it rip. Arcelia says, what do you think about IPTV? Not sure what IPTV is. Maybe you could tell me a little bit more about it. What's the basics of it? All right, guys. 1 hour in. It is 3 p.m. We started the stream around 2 o'clock, so we're about an hour in. So far, convo's been good. A lot of interesting stuff. We've talked about Layer 3 TV as it pertains to T-Mobile. We've talked about some cable provider stuff. Charter getting booted out of New York. Yeah, we've covered quite a bit of topics. You got my formal thank yous for reaching 1,000 subscribers. So we've covered quite a bit. Oh, so TV over IP. Okay, I got you. All right. Yeah, got you. So Brian's asking that an appeal won't happen. Yeah, I mean, so there's one thing that could potentially threaten the AT&T and the Time Warner acquisition. There's currently a request to get some of the conversations that were being had during a meeting recently. I don't know. I guess it depends on what was said, but I can't think of anything that would have been said that would have been so private and potentially damning to the acquisition that it would kill it. So, I mean, I could potentially see some. I'd like to see some concessions come out of it, but I mean, I don't think anything's going to come of it. I think it's going to proceed. I think it's going to go through. Like I said, it is absolutely merger season. It is it's acquisition season. This administration is all about it. No matter what they say, it is all about what you do. And this FCC and all these groups and Senate they're letting it rip. They're letting it go. There may be a formal appeal, but I don't think it's gonna do anything. The Disney merger with the Fox assets. Now, from the best of my knowledge, this is big on isn't it the movie studios? That's kind of like the big thing. I wonder what exactly the concessions are going to be finalized. Like, what exactly gets to be acquired and what's going to be lost as part of the concessions. I haven't been following it as much as the other mergers, but I don't know. I'll have to check it out. I'll have to see what the concessions could be. But that's a lot of money tied up between Disney. Now, you guys know Disney is owned by Viacom. Viacom's huge. Viacom is ESPN. Viacom is Disney. Yeah, that's big time. DGAF, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Green lights on the mergers. If you have a merger, potentially do it now. Like, if I was a huge company and I wanted to swallow a smaller player, or I wanted to consume a couple of smaller conglomerates, I would do it now. Now's the perfect time. This is the administration that seems to be letting it go and not having to give up much for concessions. I would definitely do it now. What would it take for Spectrum to raise the internet speed? Uh, Getting the Spectrum CEO and putting him in a chokehold until he raises the speed. I don't know. We got to send in a ninja or something to the Spectrum CEO and make him sign a paper saying we're going to be raising the speeds. What's the average speed with Spectrum anyway? Like, what do most people get? Yeah, I wouldn't want to see Comcast taking anything. God, man, I hate Comcast. Now that I think this does implicate that merger. It does implicate like Marvel and DC and stuff like that. Those movies, doesn't it? I'm almost positive it does. All right. So as you guys are chiming in with all of your comments and questions and whatnot, uh, let's see here. We covered what we did this week. Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming week. So this week, from the YouTube side, obviously we've got the live streams every Friday from 2 to 4. The podcast, which I usually record on Sundays, sometimes Mondays, but usually within that 24 to 48 hour window, I get the podcast put up. Topics for this week's podcast, we've got Samsung, which obviously the Note is up and coming August 9th, Samsung Galaxy Note 9. We've got some Apple news, so looking forward to the new generation of iPhones and some iPad news. We have some leaks of the Google Pixel 3 and Pixel 3 XL. We have some benchmarks. We have some specs. We may have a price update there. So I'm doing a little bit of research there. Some interesting findings. There's a couple of things I wanted to talk about as it pertains to the leaders of smartphone manufacturing in the world. So we'll look at some worldwide numbers and who's kind of winning there. A lot of people think that, oh, it's Samsung and Apple and there's nobody else really involved. Huawei is a huge company when it comes to manufacturing smartphones. So there's going to be a little bit of information there. And then a lot of what we do here doesn't involve gaming, but Fortnite is a huge gaming platform. And, you know, we've got Fortnite for Android coming, which is going to have a release soon. But there's some implications that are kind of interesting. They're going to be taking a different angle. I'm hearing they're not going to have it on the Play Store for download. So they're going to do it exclusively through their website. And I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I want to cover that topic in the podcast as well. So that's up and coming. In terms of other YouTube videos for the week, I'm going to do a Verizon video next week. I'm going to do a Sprint video, one with T-Mobile. I'm going to talk a little bit about T-Mobile's vision, what they've done in the past, what's going on in the present, and what they're doing in the future. So that'll be a pretty good one. I think I'm going to sprinkle in some JD Power and Associates survey information. So I'll probably put that in there. I don't know if I'll put that in there as its own video, but I'll definitely include something. And then I might actually do like a formal 1,000 subscriber video or something like that. We'll see if I can squeeze that in the week. And I might do a Moto Z3 video. Now, I don't usually dedicate videos to smartphones, but I'm thinking about doing one on the Moto Z3 because the Moto Z3 could have 5G capability. And the phone is getting released this month, but it could be 5G compatible with a Moto mod. That's huge, and that's interesting. So Moto's always been huge in patent technology and hardware, and they're always like leading the way and blazing trails. So I might do a video on the Moto Z3 and how that implicates 5G. So, you know, if you guys want to see that, let me know in the live chat if that's something you want to know more about. Now on the Patreon side, the Patreon side, I'm going to consider some of these videos potentially for the exclusives for the week. So I'm thinking about adding a 1 hour live stream. I don't know what day to do it for Patreon. Maybe I'll put a poll or something on Patreon so you guys can just tell me when you would like a 1 hour live stream. Maybe sometime in the middle of the week, maybe like a Wednesday night or something like that between 9 and 10. Or it could be like something random like a Thursday night or something. I don't know. So I'll put a poll on Patreon for that. I'm definitely going to do a video on how the merger happened between Sprint and T-Mobile. I'm going to make that one a Patreon exclusive. I'm definitely going to do a 5G video. I feel like my Patreon page has really become like a 5G hub for like, you know, topics that I discuss there. But I'm okay with that because 5G is so buzzworthy now. So if you're interested in the 5G video, it'll be a Patreon exclusive. It'll talk about small cell infrastructure, international scope, some 5G hardware stuff, smartphones, the automobile industry as it pertains to 5G. I also think I'm going to do a cord cutting video. So as it pertains to like streaming video services and TV, that might not make it this week, but maybe like in a week or two, I'll have something there. I'm going to do a video, maybe not this week, but potentially next week on Layer 3 TV. A lot of people don't really know what Layer 3 TV is, what it represents, and what T-Mobile is doing with them. So I think I'm going to do a video on their history and what they're going to be doing in the future with T-Mobile. And another idea I had for a video was something from the prepaid side, MVNOs. I put a poll up last week what people wanted to see on the Patreon side, and a couple of clicks for the prepaid. So maybe I'll do something on plans and updates and things of that nature. So that's what's upcoming on Patreon and YouTube for this week and next week. All right, let me catch up a little bit in the live chat. All right, Arcelia, so you were talking about Spectrum, right? Okay, so you're getting 100 megs per second. Now that's probably your download, right? What are you getting on the upload? I'm guessing it's probably like 10 or 20 or 30 meg. And I'll ask you, Arcelia, is that good enough, or do you want something faster? Yeah, DGAF, I agree. Comcast, Infinity, Charter, Cox. Yeah, they suck. All of them. Yeah, their services are often like not even that great, and then you're paying premium prices. Like, it's a horrible combination. All right, Pete. Moto video it is. Pete has spoken. He wants a Moto Z3 video. You're getting it, bro. Yeah, I'd say 5G is premium content. It's like, it's very buzzworthy. It generates a lot of conversation, and it's like bleeding edge tech. So yeah, it's pretty huge. And we're gonna see information and news all the time because every week it's something new. Fernando asks, were you affected with the Patreon issue declining people's cards? You know what? So today's August 3rd. To the best of my knowledge, I think all patron pledges and the transactions were approved on my side. I haven't seen it in my PayPal account or anything like that, but I'll have to check probably within the next 24 to 48 hours. I'd be willing to wait up to Monday before I even really investigated it too much, but I'll definitely have to look to see if I was affected by that. All right, Pete, I will be reaching out to you, Pete. Or actually, if you could send me an email, Pete, sneedmobiletech@gmail.com. Let me know where we could start in having a conversation about this Layer 3 TV thing. Maybe you can give me some ideas of where I want to start with the history of the company and kind of what they've been doing recently, and then, you know, how this kind of gets integrated in the future with T-Mobile. I'd definitely be appreciative of that. All right, Arcelia, you're getting 12 megabits per second on the upload. That's kind of low. I'd like to see that closer to 20 or 30 megs. So right now, actually, I got rid of Cox for a while, and I just got them back because now, obviously, with uploading content and making sure I get high-resolution video on my live streams, the AT&T wasn't cutting it. It wasn't fast enough, so I had to get broadband through Cox. And I signed up for their 300 megabits per second plan, and it gets me 30 megabits per second on the upload. So that's what I'm getting from Cox. I'm paying $80 a month for that. I don't have any data caps or anything like that. You know what, Pete? That's a really good analogy. Pete says, cable companies are a cartel. Damn it, that sounds pretty accurate. Oh, man. I bet you all these cable companies are being run by Pablo right now. So I wanted to ask you guys, for those of you that remember my first initial videos from a year ago, year and a half ago when I first started doing videos, compared to the videos I'm doing now, Have you seen the quality of the videos improving? Have you seen the delivery improving? Do you think that the live stream has added something to the channel beneficial? Do you think that the podcast shows a lot of promise? Or do you think there's something I could change maybe potentially? You guys can tell me in the live chat here. I think I might even do a video as well. So, let me know, for those of you that have been with me for a while, let me know the trajectory of the channel and what you see it as. All right. Fernando says, I hate the data caps. I will never... Okay, I understood data caps on wireless networks because wireless networks at the time could not handle the load of high data usage. Fine. I don't understand data caps on home internet. There are no bandwidth issues on home internet. It's literally running through fiber. I don't understand. It's ridiculous, completely unacceptable. If a company told me that there's a certain allowance of data, I'm not interested. We can't do business. You're not getting my money. And if I don't have a choice, I'm going to find a way around it. I'm going to find a different provider, find something, figure something out. I refuse. Arcelia, thank you for the compliment. Very nice of you. Thank you. So Pete, so how does this data cap work with these service providers? Do they like send you an email? Do they send you a letter documenting like, okay, you went over your data, you went over 1,000 gigabytes this month. Here's a warning. Or is it, hey, use 1,000 gigabytes per month, find a way to use less. Then like step 2 is like strike 2. Hey, this is a formal warning, stop using so much data. Or is it like then 3, like, okay, we're gonna have to fine you. Here's a $50 fee for using it over or something. Like, how does that work? I'm very curious as to what their process is behind that. Because I would write a letter back telling them, take this letter and you know what you could do with it. Like, that's very aggravating. I what are they thinking? But Pete, it doesn't matter if you use over a terabyte. Who cares? You should be able to use over a terabyte. You should use 10 terabytes. It doesn't matter to them. It really doesn't. It doesn't affect their performance at all. The only way it's going to affect them is if they have bandwidth throttling issues and bottleneck issues, which cable providers don't have that issue. Email warning at 900 gigabytes. Yeah, I'd have a reply for them. $20 fee for going over. So let me get this straight, Pete. You're probably paying $100 a month for internet. They're going to charge you a 20% increase for going over some arbitrary amount that doesn't affect any type of other customers or them. Per 25 gigabytes, it's ridiculous. So if you use another like 100 gigs, that's an extra $80. Get out of here. Yeah, data caps, Christian, on home internet makes 0 sense. There's no way they could justify the fee. It's ridiculous. Okay, Pete, so when you say symmetric gig, so you're talking 1,000 megabits per second on the download. So what would be your upload on that? I'll tell you what, Fernando, if they're trying to control cord cutters, what they should be trying to do is get them back and offer better deals for their TV side. People are paying 50, 60, 70, 80, 120, 130 just for home internet. Give them TV for an extra $20, $30, $40. Keep their bill under $180. You know what I'm saying? Give them really, really fast internet and give them a dependable box. Boxes that get software upgrades. Boxes that are reliable. Everybody collectively, for the most part, hates the TV side of home internet because the boxes suck and they take forever to boot up and they don't receive software updates. It's all a terrible proprietary situation. Make something software upgradable that is supported and people's viewing experiences are good. And support your consumers, make them want to stay with you. Don't make them look away all the time because your services are poor. You know, it's like they have no accountability and they have no competition. Seriously, it's frustrating. They're the worst. You know what, Fernando? Let's just collectively look at all of the things that we're getting from cord cutting side. Netflix, Hulu, DirecTV Now. What's the other one? Sling, Amazon, the PlayStation TV service. I mean, there's so many options, and I'm so glad for it. Like, man, this would have been a pipe dream 5 years ago. So yeah, I'm very happy to see this. Yeah, YouTube TV. How could I forget? Big Google, Mother Google's big TV thing. And I swear, I bet you YouTube TV doesn't even make them money. I bet you they break even, but they just want to take the money away from the other businesses. Yeah, Hulu's big time. Arcelia, Fios. Is it Fios or Fios? I forget. Somebody told me. I think it's Fios. It's very regional. I know it's in Pittsburgh. That's probably like the closest market to me, which is 2.5 hours away. If it was available in my area, I would try it to see if I like it. I hear it's pretty good. I guess if they came to my side of town, I'd give them a shot. Yeah, Pete. See, I figured. I bet you they don't even make money on YouTube TV because I hear that ESPN, just that channel, potentially costs TV providers like $23 for each subscription, which is crazy because like ESPN might be one of the worst channels available nationally. ESPN's garbage. Uh, they're just a big conglomerate that doesn't know how to spend their money. Like, I could tell you why ESPN has to spend why companies that provide TV have to spend a lot of money for ESPN. They have a morning show called Get Up or something. It's like their newest morning show. They've got 3 hosts on there. It's Michelle Beadle, Jalen Rose, and Mike Greenberg. Their collective payroll, those 3 hosts, is like $17 million per year. And I like Michelle. She's pretty good. Mike Greenberg's been doing this forever, so he's like the wily veteran. But Jalen Rose is a complete buffoon, and he's a loser. And he makes like $3-4 million a year. That is just ridiculous. And even with all their cost cutting and firing and getting rid of people and realigning the company, ESPN's payroll is just it's outrageous. But they have all these ads on their channel, and they get all of these monies, from advertising dollars. And in order to get ESPN, because people want to watch ESPN, it's almost like this is the only thing we could watch for sports. TV providers, they have to bite the bullet and provide it. And it's like, I think ESPN is the most expensive channel to provide. And it sucks, and it's a horrible channel. DGAF, I would say so. Cord cutting is definitely in. I'm so happy to see it. Just having options, I feel, gives people, a sense of peace. Seriously, there are people that suffer anxiety from their home internet providers and their home TV providers. It's very frustrating. Plus, DGAF being able to take your TV on the go is awesome. You've got kids in the car, they're wilding out and going crazy. Hey, take this, watch some TV. Here's Peppa Pig or Sesame Street to the little one that's crying, whatever. Or maybe, you're going to be on a long trip, be on the road for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. We got truckers in the chat. Maybe it's your time to sit and you want to watch some TV and you could do that. It's nice. Oscar Frederico Jr., welcome, my friend. Good to have you here in the live chat. Thank you for tuning in. So DGAF, what's her impression on the service? She like it? So Oscar says, I have DirecTV. I'm thinking of cutting it off after NFL tickets is done. Actually, I just got an email because I have DirecTV now. Um, if you don't like DirecTV, you may want to consider DirecTV now as a streaming situation. They just added NFL Network. So if you're big on fantasy sports, if you follow an NFL team and they're not available in the market you live in, the NFL Network should take care of that for you. All right, so she's liking the. Is it Fios or Fios? What's the pronunciation on that? Somebody told me, but I forgot. Yeah, Oscar, that you're welcome. The DirecTV Now service, man, they've got a promo right now. I don't know what the promo code is, but like you can look it up. Um, I think it's like $10 off any plan. So like the $65 plan would be like 55, and that gets you a ton of channels. Um, I think there's one plan that's higher than that, so you can get like a $5 or a $10 discount. There also are a couple of promos where it's like they'll give you a month at like half the price. They'll give you a 50% discount to get you to stay. So if you started with them and you didn't like it, or you said, hey, I don't like the service, I'm going to end after this month, they might be like, okay, well, would you like it at a 50% discount to get you to stay with us? They might do something like that. Like that's what I have right now. Like I've been going month to month with DirecTV Now, and right when I'm about to cancel it, or I tell them I'm going to cancel it, I let them know, hey, I'm not going to be paying the $65 fee you're asking. But if you're willing to keep it at $35 or $30, I'll stay. And they usually say, okay, we'll give you another month at that rate. But if they end that, then I'll have to see what they'll be willing to do, because if DirecTV Now gets rid of that discount and I have to pay like the regular price, I'll probably switch to like YouTube TV and give them a shot. I'm going to try every streaming service until I exhaust all of my options, and then find the one I like and provides the best value. That's what my plan is. You know what, DGAF? So let me tell you about my experience with Cox. So I left Cox in June, and I was using an alternative situation for my home internet. And that home internet alternative I was using wasn't very good, but it was getting me by. Um, so they called me like a month and a half, 2 months after I disconnected, and they're like, "Hey, we want to put together these promotions for you to try to get you back. When you leave, you talk. Like your money talks with these companies. So don't ever feel like you're unable to do anything. How you spend your dollars as a consumer is the loudest statement you can make. It doesn't matter if you scream at them on a customer service chat. It doesn't matter if you write them a letter. It doesn't matter if you send them an email. They don't care. You will make a difference if you don't spend money with them. That's what makes the most noise. So speak with your wallets. Don't pay if you don't want the service and it's not good. All right, let me catch up after I get off my soapbox here. All right. Brian says DirecTV Now will be offering NFL Sunday Ticket with their premiere offering coming up. It's been super rumored. I have to check. I got an email from DirecTV Now, something NFL related. I don't know if it was NFL Network or if it was the ticket or whatever. I have to look at it again, but I know it was NFL related. So DirecTV Now is expanding its offerings, and the price, if you can get the right promo, is really good. DGAF, I'm definitely going to be giving YouTube TV a shot if YouTube TV becomes cheaper than my current plan with DirecTV Now. So I'm using, I forget the name of the plan. It's a pretty inclusive plan. It's got tons of channels, and all the channels like my wife and my daughter like. So we'll have to see. As soon as the value isn't there with DirecTV Now, I'm going to try YouTube TV. But yeah, DGAF, I hear everybody loves YouTube TV. I mean, it's got that seamless connectivity to the Chromecast and stuff like that. And plus, I've got YouTube TV downloadable onto my TV as a smart TV, so it's definitely something I would consider. All right, Oscar says paying AT&T. Is that Fabric? Okay, so I'm guessing AT&T home internet and DirecTV, you're at about 150. That's probably pretty average, Fernando, Oscar. I think most people that have a home, their home internet has to be fast enough to support several devices, a couple laptops, a desktop, maybe a Chromebook, a few smartphones, a tablet, an iPad. So you got to get a substantial amount of bandwidth, and then you're going to have to get a pretty inclusive TV package, and then probably at least two boxes, maybe even like two DVR boxes in the house, stuff like that, maybe three. So 150, that's probably pretty average. Most people are around there for a home. Even like for somebody who lives alone, they would end up paying 120, 130 bucks for service like that. All right, Fernando. You mentioned having issues with Sling. So when I had Sling, I had issues with them too. Channels inconsistent. The connectivity was a little inconsistent. I had them over a year ago. I wonder if, when you had Sling and if they would still have those issues today because software upgrades, network improvements, connectivity improvements, streaming quality, all that changes over time. They may have worked out quite a few bugs, so I wouldn't, shut out Sling for sure. But yeah, I had them a couple years ago and I saw similar issues. Yeah, Brian, I'm pretty sure it was an NFL Network email. I think they were just saying that hey, it's all included now in your package or whatever. Arcelia, I pay $30.17, I think, for DirecTV Now. So that's my TV subscription. I pay. What is Hulu? Is it $9 or something? I've got Hulu. Uh, my home internet's like 80 bucks. I get 300 megabits on the download, and I get 30 on the upload. So that's kind of what I've got for my home situation. And I've got an AT&T SIM card, mobile hotspot that I use, and then I have Verizon for my wireless, and I've got 7 lines on my Verizon account. Big family. Got siblings on there, got parents on there, the wife, the baby, not the baby, but. Oh, Oscar, you meant AT&T fiber, so it's probably really, really fast. Oscar, what type of speeds are you getting from that fiber? I feel like in places that have the fiber available, they're getting gigabit speed, but I don't know. You could tell me what you get on the upload and the download. Fernando, I used to see the pixelation issue too. I don't see the pixelation issue with DirecTV Now, so I'm content with DirecTV Now. I'm good with that. Uh, if I was to lose the value in it, like the price went up on me and they weren't gonna negotiate that, then um, yeah, I'd probably leave. Let's see. Let me catch up in the chat here. Pete says I have 7 on my mobile account. Yeah, I've got 7. I've got 7 on mine. I probably would have 8 or 9, but we've got some family that are on T-Mobile that aren't on the Verizon side with us. All right, Arcelia, the email for the Sneed Mobile Tech channel is sneedmobiletech@gmail.com. So yeah, if you guys ever want to send me anything, screenshots, speed tests, maybe if you got some photos, there's been some tower construction going on. You found a small cell in your city. Let me know by email. Use my sneedmobiletech@gmail.com address. Get that over to me. I could share that with the channel. Let's see here. Oscar says, I get 100 gigs, high speed. So I'm guessing that's your download. Um, for some people, download's all that matters. They don't upload anything. But unfortunately, like with me, the upload is actually kind of important. When I do upload videos, I don't want it to crawl. So I need at least 20 megabits per second on the upload. 10 would be tough. 30 is probably the best I could find. So that's what I'm getting right now. Kiva, do you remember me? Yeah, I remember. I remember you from my first couple of live streams. You were present in the live chat. Welcome back. Glad to see that you're here. Yeah, if the T-Mobile side of my family were to join us on the Verizon side, we'd have like 10 total. So, but the ones in my family that do have T-Mobile, they are mostly pleased with T-Mobile, but they just seem to appreciate the less restrictive setup that T-Mobile has. The mentality of T-Mobile is just so different. Uh, but like I said, every network has its issues. I know my oldest brother, he's a little displeased with T-Mobile's calling performance, and I could tell you firsthand, speaking to him on the phone, like sometimes it crackles, sometimes it drops, and I want to say that it could be me, but like I don't experience it with anybody else other than his calls. So I don't know if it's his phone or whatever, but he's got a T-Mobile branded Moto Z2 Force. So it's T-Mobile branded. It's a phone designed for the network. Yeah, you know what, Arcelia, I'm gonna go ahead and put that I'm gonna put my Gmail address there in the description. I'll make that change next video. Thanks for letting me know. I'll remember to do that. Steve, long time no see, buddy. Welcome to the live chat, my friend. Got the thumbs up from Steve. Good looking out, bud. All right, so Oscar gives us a price update. Spectrum charges $20 after 1 year, $49.99 plus the $20.69. So now I know this is a common business practice with the ISPs. After a certain term, they'll raise your promotional price. So say you start with like a $49.99 internet promo with a company, and that's for like up to 12 months. So on the 13th month that you've been with them, you'll see like your bills skyrocket. It'll go from that $49.99 promo to like $89.99. So right away you see that money draw, or you go to, you get the bill in the mail and like, what the heck? So you call customer service, they renegotiate your new deal with them to keep you on for another year. That's a pretty common practice in ISP 101. That's they do that consistently. AT&T does it. DirecTV does it. All the TV providers, the home internet providers, they all do that. Now, it's important. You have to be an educated consumer. You have to advocate for yourself. If you're not careful, if you don't pay attention and you do everything auto pay, they're just slicing and dicing away and just drawing out of your bank account. So they'll say, oh, well, sorry about that. Well, we'd like to get you on for, here's what we have to offer, and they run through some of the promotions. All right, so we are at 1 hour and 38 minutes. We're still cooking, so I say since it's about 3:37, I'll give this another 10 or 15 minutes. Let's see where we go with this. Make sure if you guys have anything to say or ask, you do so quickly. Get it in because, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, and I think we're going to call it a day. 6305 for the home services. That's not bad. It's not bad. It's pretty good. Akiva, yes, I remember you. Was it like my first or second live stream? I remember you were in the chat. So welcome back. Good to see you. All right, Pete. So, yeah, sometimes you could find good deals when they run on promotions, but like I said, they'll hit you hard, as soon as that 12-month term is over, and they'll kind of get you that way. Now, what I always recommend to people is whenever you have home internet, I always recommend getting a compatible Wi-Fi router, modem and router combination, whatever you choose to do. But make sure you own the equipment. It's always going to be cheaper in the long run doing it that way than renting for $10, $12, $15 a month. They get you that way. They're in this to make money. They'll give you some crappy Netgear router that hardly has any range, and then you'll be like, oh, I'm in this part of the house, no Wi-Fi. You'll call and complain. They'll say it's your equipment. Well, you're renting the equipment to me. Why you bring me this garbage? So just go ahead and do yourself a favor. Hit eBay, hit Amazon, whatever, Newegg, wherever they're selling strong router and modem combos, and get yourself something high-end that is future-proof that you can use for a while. Just pay the $150, and just think about it. It pays itself off in a year. You'll be able to continue to use it for years to come. So don't rent stuff from them. They suck. Well, Soul J, it's good to have you back, man. You missed out on some good convo. We talked a lot about ISPs, cable provisions, TV side. We talked about horrible home internet data caps. But it's good to have you back, buddy. All right, Akiva asks, iPhone X or Google Pixel 2? It's hard for me to recommend either at this point, just because it's so late in the year. So the iPhone 10, it's the most capable iPhone Apple has ever made. That's all I could really say about it. I mean, it's got a great display. It's got a great camera setup. It's the best iPhone ever made. But the Google Pixel 2, you know, at this point, so you've got the new iPhones coming out. You've got the new Pixels coming out soon. I would say hold off and don't get either of them. And I would pick a new iPhone or pick the new Google Pixel 3. Now, the Pixel 3 XL is going to be hideous and ugly. I can't recommend that. But if it's the smaller variant, it's going to be about a 5.4-inch display. It'll probably be an OLED panel. It'll probably be really fast. Google Pixels have the best cameras, so if you want the best camera, I would say go the Pixel route. But if you can get a really good deal on a Pixel 2, that's a good way to go. The problem is it's got this really dated design, which is kind of bland. The iPhone 10 definitely is more eye-catching, but there's a huge price difference. A Pixel 2 entry level is going to cost you $650. Maybe used, you might get it for like $350. The iPhone 10 is $1,000 new and probably like $700 or $800 used. So, huge price difference there. Let me catch up in the chat here. Yeah, Fernando, you can always call and complain about something and they'll drop the price. But I'm telling you, the most effective way to get cheaper prices on your home internet is to cut the cord, leave them as a company, and then they'll come crawling back to you and give you what you want. That's the most effective way. All right, Soul J says, what's your Patreon info? Sneed Mobile Tech on Patreon. Any of my more recent videos will have links in the description for the Patreon page. The commitment to get access to all the early releases to the YouTube videos, the exclusive content, it's only $3 per month. So your pledge is a $3 pledge, gets you early access to all YouTube videos and the exclusive content only found on Patreon. And if you like to support creators, the Patreon format is a great way for us to be rewarded for our hard work, all the research we put into our videos and things of that nature. So I definitely thank you for the consideration, Soul J. Yeah, Oscar, we talked about this earlier, actually. Yeah, they were kicked out of New York. They have bad business practices. They suck, honestly. Like, your services are poor. Your customer service is poor. Your performance from the network that you're providing sucks. Like, you have to be held accountable. It's gotten so bad, there's probably been so many complaints that the state's like, you guys have to fix something if you're going to be doing business in the state. So I'm kind of glad to see that. Oh, Pete, I forgot. Who did you tell me? Who do you work for? I forget what you told me. I think we talked about this last week. So Jay, thank you, man. I appreciate your considerations. Thank you. I'll tell you what, Akiva, if you're looking for a bargain on a good network, so you're trying to get, you know, copious amounts of data usage, pretty good coverage. Maybe not all the fancy things like voice over LTE and all that, but like you know, a nice experience for wireless. Metro PCS is a great way to go, especially with the value you get. Like, what's their most recent promo? It was like, I don't know, it was like $30 a line for unlimited data for like up to 4 lines, something like that. It was really, really good, and they include all the taxes, all the fees. It's awesome. It's really good. Wow, I think we're actually at a high point. We are at 16 simultaneous views in the live chat. I think that's a Sneed Mobile Tech personal record. So good to see a lot of viewership here. Welcome to all of you that are new to the channel. Thank you guys for visiting and watching the live stream. We're down to our last 10 minutes or so of the live stream. So let's get all this stuff in before time wraps up. All right, so Daniel's chiming in. He's getting 2 megabits per second on the upload, 31 megabits on the download on Suddenlink. That's not bad. You can do pretty much whatever you want on that connection. How is it when you connect like 5 or 6 devices, though? Like 2 smartphones, 2 laptops, streaming TV services. Like, is 30 megabits going to get it done? All right, so 4 lines for 100. That's a pretty good promo. I like that deal. $25 a line for unlimited. It's fantastic. Now, Verizon prepaid is usually not an attractive option, but they're trying to become more competitive, so they're running more promos. I wonder if they're still doing the doubling data deal. Be interesting to see if they're still doing that. And I'd like to see their next quarter numbers to see if it made a difference in their revenue. Yeah, Kiva, their deal is really good. 4 lines for $100 is excellent. I'd like to ask you guys out there. Akiva brings up a good point. So, what happens when you want to upgrade your device? Do you consider switching carriers or providers because they're offering a smartphone upgrade promotion? I have this conversation with people all the time. I'm not one to leave a carrier or stay with a carrier because of a phone, but sometimes those deals are so enticing. You can get in a new Galaxy, like a high-end Galaxy, like an S8 or an S9. They'll run a sweet promo on that, and it'll make you want to go to them, like switching from your current carrier to another one just because of a smartphone. I personally don't do it, but I mean, it is enticing. It's tempting. And of course, they lock you in over the installment payments and stuff like that, but they do give you a great deal on the hardware as long as you stay with them for a certain amount of time. Akiva says, can you stream for a bit longer? All right, Akiva, you got 12 minutes. You got to tune in a little bit sooner. I'm wondering if maybe you just can't do it because of work or something like that. But the live stream is every Friday from 2 to 4. I'm thinking about doing a 1-hour live stream for patrons only. I'm going to put up a poll there, see what day and what time you guys want to do that. So stay posted. Check that out if you're interested. Yeah, DGAF, it's tempting, man. I've never felt so compelled, though, to where I legitimately was going to leave. Like, say, for example, I have Verizon, right, was one of my providers. I am so satisfied with Verizon's service as a service, like their coverage, their network. I would not go to AT&T, who's very similar in a lot of respects. I wouldn't say as fast, but they have similar coverage. I wouldn't go to AT&T for a phone. It just wouldn't do it for me. I mean, I care about phones. I cover phones in my topics, on my videos. I like the smartphone technology. I like the innovation. But, like, I have a Google Pixel 2 XL, and I'm very satisfied with it. It's got a great camera that's going to be good for a while. It's got great software. It runs really smooth, really fast. I'd be willing to wait till it's, like the Google Pixel 3 XL is going to be hideous. I'm not going to buy it. It's ugly. I'm going to be looking at an ugly phone all day? No way. So I may just wait for the 4th generation of Pixels. See, that's kind of where I'm at with my phones. I don't really consider the upgrades as being enticing enough to switch carriers. It's more about the device itself. I'll finance through the manufacturer. I don't need to go through the carrier. I just don't like the lockdown, like, you know, just in case something happens and I gotta go. That's how you know we're getting down to the end of the live stream. Running out of drink. Nothing left. All right. Rapid fire, last 10 minutes. All right, so let's take a tally of who's watching at work. We've got Fernando who's watching at work. We have D Gap who's at work. Uh, Akiva's still at work, or she's about to get off of work. Yeah, you guys are awesome. You're risking unemployment just to watch my live stream. That's commitment. Thank you guys. I hope you don't get in trouble. Don't let the boss see. See, Arcelia, I'm big on buying hardware separate. I always say buy your smartphones from anybody but your carrier. Buy through Newegg, buy through B&H, buy through Amazon, buy through the manufacturer because the device itself is going to be unlocked. Now, there's a couple situations where you could go with your carrier. Number one, if you're not leaving your carrier and you like it, then yes, take advantage of their offerings. But if there's any tiny possibility of you wanting to leave, potentially, then don't upgrade through your carrier. Definitely go to the manufacturer. They all offer financing and stuff. It's all available now. Like if you're going to buy an iPhone, go to the Apple Store. You get Apple Care support. They're the ones that can help you with the hardware anyways. Verizon can't do anything for your iPhone. Like they can't fix your screen or do any of that stuff or fix your battery issue. They pretend like they know what they're doing. They have no clue. I'm an iPhone repair specialist. There's nobody in a Verizon store that can help you with an iPhone issue other than resetting your phone, which hardware issues can't be handled with a reset. So I always say go through the manufacturer. All right, let me catch up here in the chat. Things just got really busy in here. Uh, yeah, Oscar, they have 75.6 million subscribers. T-Mobile's growth is awesome. Kiva, I don't have a blue tint issue on my Google Pixel 2 XL. I mean, I've heard of it. I don't have it. And I think also some people overstate it and they make it a bigger deal than it really is. I don't protect flaws in phones. Like if there's a flaw in a phone, you got to call it. I mean, we're consumers. We need to stick together, right? But like I don't have that issue with my phone. And this is the first one. I didn't have to like return it and get a new one. This one came this way. It's a good phone. Oh, Brian, now you're just flexing, bro. You're at work with the volume turned up. Go on, man. Flex on him. Because I can. Pete's the boss, so he's running things. You
guys are just, man, you guys probably got the Cadillacs parked in the first parking spot by the door. Guaranteed. Kiva says, can you give me a 20-minute warning? Well, we're about to wrap up here in a few minutes, but in terms of like when the live stream is, it's every Friday at 2 p.m. So try to tune in a little earlier.
Daniel says, depends what game it is, but sometimes it doesn't slow down. Okay. I'll tell you what, when it comes to iPhone issues, you got to deal with the Apple Store. There's just no way around it. Whether you're sending it into them or you're going into the store, you can't go into a Verizon store, AT&T store, T-Mobile store with an iPhone problem and expect them to fix it. Sound better, you sound far away. How's the audio, guys? Is it clear? I may have to upgrade the mic here. I've been just using my Bluetooth headphones because they noise cancel and I can kind of get a better idea of what my sound is like. Here, maybe we'll try it without this. Okay, how's the audio now? All right, cool. All right, so we're back good with the audio. Uh, let's see here. Soul J says, dude, my wife's iPhone 7 Plus just crashed through a boot loop while she tried to update her phone. Any recommendations? Well, I could tell you what not to recommend. I will not recommend an iPhone. I mean, if you're having problems with the iPhone, it's hard to recommend it again. I always tell people if you're good with what you got and you're going to stick with it, roll with that. But if you're having issues with a certain thing, you're going to want to go in a different direction. If you want an iPhone like experience with Android, then I would say go with a Google Pixel device. If you want beautiful hardware and design with a good camera and overall just top end specs power, then I say go with a Galaxy like the S8 or S9 or whatever, or maybe the Note. Those are probably the top notch devices. Uh, Depends on your carrier. If you have a GSM carrier like AT&T, T-Mobile, or their MVNOs, I would go OnePlus 6. Those are probably the best recommendations. LG makes some good phones too, like the G7, but just people don't really think about them too much. Kind of sucks. Let's see here. Catch up in the chat. Yeah, I'm rolling with the Bluetooth headphones. Uh, no headphone jack. Try to live the wireless life, man. It sucks. I miss everything being wired. It was so much better. Brian says we are good. Thank you for letting me know. Thanks for chiming in there. Gotta make sure the audio is good. Akiva, that is a good point. I think the reason Huawei will not be successful in the US is because it's so hard to spell. Yeah, I mean it's a Chinese company, right? It's a little bit of a disconnect with the culture, I guess. Akiva says also, what is your biggest strength as it pertains to what? And also, Akiva, in addition, are you Republican? I have no political affiliation. I don't belong to any party, political representation. I'm independent. I don't care about political sides. I care about the right thing. I'm a school teacher. I believe in justice. I believe in good things. I believe in treating people well. I believe in uh, always doing the right thing, no matter who it pertains to, parties aside, it doesn't matter. Always do the right thing in all issues. That's what I do. So no political affiliation. So Pete, I think those boot loop issues and like the whole software issue, don't they just reinstall iTunes and all that? Like that's their idea of a solution, and then it happens again the next update, and it's just horrible. All right, Daniel says my internet bill is $70 per month with the combo modem, Wi-Fi, and the bill. Also, that's pretty good, 70 a month. So, Daniel, what type of speeds are you getting? Are you getting, pretty good speeds? Are you satisfied? That's a pretty good bargain with all of your rental fees in there and everything. Pete, yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate the support on Patreon. Thank you for your commitment there. Do I avoid politics on my channel? I don't really see the I don't really avoid it, but there's not really much for politics. The only times we get into politics is when certain legislation goes in for like net neutrality, like that was kind of a big deal, or when there's like cities and jurisdictions and municipalities that are fighting against small cell deployments. So when cellular service becomes a political issue, that pops up sometimes, but I'm not into like taking sides and all that stuff. I'm again, like I said, I just care about doing the right thing in all instances. So no political affiliations for me. Sneeze for president. Soul J, I could never be a president, man. I'm not built for that. That needs somebody with some really thick skin. That needs somebody with like legitimate leadership characteristics. You know what, Pete? That's really sad. You try to go the extra mile to help a customer and you take pride in your work and they fired you. That shows you how robotic that company is. Seriously. Uh, Acronite 9178. Thank you for tuning in. What do you recommend? Go unlimited or beyond unlimited on Verizon? I'm not a big heavy data user outside of my home. So either way, you're getting unlimited data. The extra money you're spending for the higher end plan, you'd have to see if you want those features. I think Go Unlimited is 480p resolution. I think the Beyond Unlimited is 720p. So if video clarity and resolution matters, I would go there. I would do that. My NFL team, I'm a homer, so I live in Cleveland. I'm a Browns fan. It's been rough, but they should be entertaining and fun this year. Akiva asked, "Do I have a drone?" Actually, my brother does, and I fly it with him sometimes. It's pretty fun. He puts a camera on there and everything. It's a good time. Yeah, they're cool. Who did I vote for? I don't even remember. I usually vote when I'm really anti against somebody. Akiva asked what I teach. I teach science, so I teach high school science. I teach mostly biology and environmental science. Yeah, the merger, Oscar, it's pretty much a done deal. There's not much in terms of obstacles to it. We do have some implications that we may see in the aftermath of the merger, so that could be something that could rekindle the passion of the channel. We'll stay updated to that. Yeah, Pete, they're not going to take nicely to you breaking the firmware security. Apple's about locking down everything. So, Akiva, yeah, my students know about my channel. I usually tell them. It gets me a little bit of juice in the room. They're like, hey, this is like that cool hip teacher that does cool stuff on like social media and things like that. So it kind of helps with that a little bit. Oscar says, Houston Texans are my team. I love the Texans, man. I remember when they had, was it Ben Tate, the running back, and Arian Foster? They were awesome, and I owned them both in fantasy. They were huge for me. And DeAndre Hopkins, that boy is good. Good player. And now with the quarterback healthy, they should be awesome. Hopefully the defense can step up too. They're getting some guys back from injury and suspension, I believe. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to just do the last couple here. Let's see here. Akronite. Yeah, I figured you're from Akron. Steelers fan. How did that happen? That's horrible. Horrible. Yeah, I love teaching bio, Akiva. It's my favorite thing to teach. I do like teaching environmental science, but bio is my number one. And Akiva, again, I agree. I feel like in the end run, I think the merger is going to hurt competition. Eventually it will. It may help initially. In the long term, I don't think so. Interesting. You're seeing how my channel reminds you of Taylosive Tech. Isn't that guy like huge pro Apple? Like Apple can do no wrong and he hates Android and stuff? It's weird. Yeah, I don't remember him from the early days. I watched some videos recently a few months ago, but yeah, so Akiva, thank you for the compliment, man. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Oscar, good having you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. I think what I'm going to do is, yep, Akiva, I gotta go. I'm going to leave you guys with that. So videos this week up and coming. Of course, live streams Fridays 2 to 4. Podcast every Sunday, Monday, depending on when I record it. So I'll have that for you guys. Patreon, I'm thinking I'm going to do a 1-hour live stream once a week there. Exclusive only to Patreon members, patrons there. Videos on Patreon. We've got How the Merger Happened on Sprint and T-Mobile. Let's do a 5G video this week. Probably next week I'll do a cord cutting video, Layer 3 TV. I'll be in cahoots with somebody else to work on that. And then maybe a prepaid MVNO special on Patreon. From the YouTube side, I'll probably do something for Verizon this week. I'll do something for Sprint. I'll do something for T-Mobile. If there's AT&T news, I'll bring that out. I'll probably at some point during the week talk a little bit about the JD Power stuff. The podcast is going to include a lot of stuff on Samsung, Apple, Google, smartphone leaders in sales worldwide, Fortnite, some news there as it pertains to the game. And it looks like there's enough interest in it. I'll do a Moto Z3 video because the Moto Z3 could be compatible with 5G. So I'll keep you guys posted on those videos this week and next week. So Thank you to all. I hit 1,000 subscribers. If you weren't here when I did my formal thank yous, thank you all for tuning in, watching, sharing, liking, viewing, hating, loving, whatever you did. Thank you so much. That's it for this one. I got to get going, guys. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you for stopping by and watching. I'll see you on the next video. Podcast Sunday. Peace.